A very good morning and welcome to Premier League Live this Sunday morning here on LFS as we kick off what is set to be a cracking day of action across the Premier League. We have two matches for you to top and tail your Sunday afternoon, and we start at St James's Park as Newcastle United and Chelsea face off for those two battling for the Champions League, and one will know if they lose today, they'll be at the mercy of Nottingham Forest, who play at 2:15. We'll see. A draw wouldn't be a bad result for either side, because it would mean that both would stay in the top five no matter what happens elsewhere. Let's have a look at today's setup and yesterday's results from the Premier League. 5 games for you yesterday. No home wins in any of those 5 games. Everton came from behind to beat Fulham by 3-1 at Craven Cottage. Fulham damaging their hopes of an 8th place finish that could still be a European spot come the season's end. Brentford helped their chances because they moved up into 8th yesterday with a win away at already relegated Ipswich. Manchester City might have just given the teams below them in that top 5 race a little bit of a glimpse after a goalless draw away at bottom of the league, Southampton. A draw that means Southampton won't have an unwanted record on their name of the lowest point finish ever in Premier League history. That has gone now with 12 points for Southampton. The record, of course, 11 points. And yesterday as well, a big win for Brighton as well as they pushed their hopes of European football alive. They moved up into 9th with a win away at Wolves. A goal either side of the half from Danny Welbeck and Brian Gruder meant Fabian Hürzeler's side left the Black Country with all 3 points. And yesterday evening we watched Aston Villa, 10-man Aston Villa in the end, seal a 1-0 victory away at a Bournemouth side who are still chasing the top 8, but Aston Villa want top 5 and they certainly helped their chances of that with that win yesterday. Ollie Watkins with his 75th goal in the Premier League in a Villa shirt, making him their all-time highest scorer in the Premier League yesterday. Ollie Watkins sealing that one for Villa, as he's done so many times before. So, this is the way the table looks coming into this afternoon then. As we look at the top 5, Arsenal not quite out of the woods yet, 67 points. They've still to play, of course. They play later. Manchester City on 65. Newcastle and Chelsea come into this one both on 63 points. But as I say, a draw would be enough to keep both of them in the top 5 today because of their far superior goal difference to Nottingham Forest, who even with a win would still have to win by 10 goals to go above both of those sides in the table and into the top 5. So a draw wouldn't be a worse result for Newcastle and Chelsea, but both want to win. That's the mentality of those two clubs. Aston Villa in 6th, they jumped above Forest with their win yesterday away at Bournemouth, so they're on 63, but a goal difference of just 7 means they're far inferior to the two sides above them. And Nottingham Forest dropping down to 7th as they haven't played yet, but they play at 2:15 today. In terms of the top 8 race, then those bottom 3 sides, as you can see, they're on the table. Brentford, Brighton and Bournemouth, 8th, 9th and 10th, all battling for that final European spot, though we don't even know would be a European spot yet, but it very much could be, depending on the result of the FA Cup final next Saturday. So all 3 of those sides battling it out, and you can see there, Brentford, 4 wins in a row for Thomas Frank's side, moving them up to 8th. Let's have a look at today's fixtures then before we get the team news from St James's Park. Of course, our lunchtime kickoff. Very rare that we have an early kickoff on a Sunday afternoon, but we back-to-back as next Sunday we're also at 12 noon kickoff at Goodison Park for the final ever game of Goodison Park for Everton. But today it's Newcastle-Chelsea, an almighty tie, an almighty battle for the Champions League. Then at 2:15 there's three kickoffs for you at 2:15 this afternoon. Manchester United hosting West Ham. Nottingham Forest against Leicester is the focus game, the big game to watch, as Nottingham Forest could jump up back to the top 5 depending on the result here at St James's Park when they face Leicester. And Tottenham take on Crystal Palace in a London derby at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, of course. But of course, Tottenham and Man United, their worries and their hopes are on that Europa League final where they will face each other in just over 10 days' time. Incredible. And then later this evening, we watch the champions Liverpool in action against the runners-up, or the hopeful runners-up, Arsenal. Could they come third in a two-horse race? We will wait and see, because if they lose today, Arsenal, they're at the mercy of the teams below them. We will see. That's at 4:30. But to the atmosphere that is already rocking, it's only lunchtime on a Sunday, but these Newcastle fans ready and hungry for great football today from their side. They had a taste of Champions League football 2 seasons ago, but they want to return to Europe's greatest competition, and they pulled off some scalpings back then. But this club now feels they're well equipped to return to the top of Europe, as are Chelsea, who've had a dip away for a while. They're in the Conference League final this season, of course, but they want not Europa League football next season, but Champions League football, and that is where they stand at the moment. But as I say, if one of these two loses today, which is very likely, then they might be at the mercy of Nottingham Forest a little later on. As the players come out, let's show you the teams then, starting with the home side, Newcastle United, with Nick Pope in goal. A back four of Tino Livramento, Fabian Schär. Sven Botman comes into the side with Dan Burn swapping into left back in place of the injuries in the Newcastle squad. In midfield, Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes the captain. Well, we're expecting not a traditional 4-3-3 from Newcastle, a little bit of a change with Anthony Gordon alongside three other attackers in Jacob Murphy, Harvey Barnes and Alexander Isak, Newcastle's leading scorer, leading the line. On the bench for the Magpies, Dubravka, Ruddy, Lascelles, Kraft, Longstaff, Miley, Wilson, Osula and Neve. No Joe Linton, no Lewis Hall. So that means that there is a little bit of rejigging for Eddie Howe and his team today. To Enzo Maresca's Chelsea, who beat the champions last time out away at Stamford Bridge, winning by 3-1, and Cole Palmer back to his best, getting his first goal in 13 last time out. Robert Sanchez starts in goal. A back four of Moises Caicedo continues at right back but can invert into midfield. Alongside him, Trevor Chalobah, Levi Colwell and Marco Correa in an unchanged side from that win over the champions. Into midfield, Romeo Lavia and Enzo Fernandez, the captain, with Cole Palmer in the 10. On the right side is Pedro Neto. On the left-hand side of the front three is Noni Madueke. And Nicholas Jackson, who missed some gilt-edged chances last week. He leads the Chelsea line. On the bench for the Blues, Jorgensen, Tosin, Badiashile, Achiempong, Gusto, James, Dewsbury Hall, Sancho and Tyreek George. It's Chelsea who are in a European final and Newcastle who want to be in Europe next season. But it's both battling for the Champions League places, and only one can win today. But if they do lose, they're at the mercy of those below them. Kick-off at St James's Park is next. Very good morning. I'm just going to turn afternoon in a moment or two as we get ready to get underway here. Very rare that we're kicking off at this time, but don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already. It's great to have you all with us for this one today. Our first of two Premier League commentaries this afternoon as we watch the champions take on Arsenal a little later on at Anfield. But at first, as I say, it's this almighty battle for the Champions League. That is the race that everybody is keeping their eyes peeled for in the final 3 weeks of this season. So many sides in the mix, so many European permutations can happen. We're guaranteed at least 6 sides in the Champions League next season, with both Spurs and Man United in that Europa League final, and will automatically qualify for the Champions League, winning the Europa League, of course. But these two wanted through league position. Newcastle already secured European football by winning the League Cup, their first domestic trophy in 70 years, against Liverpool back in March. But they want a league position, Champions League place, and that's what they're fighting for today and over the next few weeks. As we get underway, oh well, not just yet, jumped the gun there a little bit. It looked like we were getting underway. We are ready to go. It will be Chelsea that will be getting us going. And that man, Cole Palmer, all the talk about his goal drought going into last weekend's game against Liverpool. He ended that with that late penalty to seal the deal for Chelsea. Chelsea be hoping they can seal the deal for Champions League football. And a big win away at Newcastle would be some statement, as Neto with the early ball towards the box. It actually goes out for a corner in these early moments. First real move from Chelsea down that right hand side, and Neto got free down the right away from Dan Burn. As he crossed it in, whether it took a deflection or whether Nick Pope carried it out, it's going to be a corner for Chelsea right away here. Let's see what they can deliver. They've certainly got height in there, do Chelsea. Newcastle under early pressure then. The referee is just going to have a chat with one or two players for the moment before we get this corner going. Our referee today, John Brooks, VAR, Darren England. Here's Enzo Fernandez to take this corner. Right-footed, flicked away at the near post. All that build-up for that to be the conclusion. Although that was awkward from Sven Botman, but he got it back to his goalkeeper, Nick Pope, who gathers comfortably. Could have been an early pressure moment for Newcastle. In the end, it came to nothing for Chelsea. They try and send Anthony Gordon on the break. Down the left side, up against Caicedo. Burst past him, goes down. Not going to get a penalty. John Brooks watches on and claims and says no, but Newcastle haven't given up yet. Here they come into the box, and the shot finds the back of the net. And it's Sandro Tonali. Chelsea could have broken final goal at one end. And within a minute, Newcastle United have the lead. What a start for the home side. Sandro Tonali, the European superstar, is giving Newcastle renewed hope of Champions League nights at St James's Park. And what a start inside 2 minutes. It's Anthony Gordon claiming for a penalty, and less than 20 seconds later, Sandro Tonali finds the back of the net. It's one long ball down the left-hand side. Gordon gets in behind Caicedo. It's not a penalty. It's taken away by the Chelsea defence. It's stolen back off Lavia by Tonali himself. The ball comes out to the right-hand side and switched into the 18-yard box. And Tonali, free as you like at the back post, and just chips the goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez, to find the back of the net. Well, that is some start for Newcastle. And a game that has so much tension, so much riding on it. The perfect start is to get a lead in absolute no time. Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. And look at the celebrations all around St James's Park. And from Eddie Howe as well. Fantastic start. And that is exactly what Chelsea are up against today. If they weren't aware of it before, they are most certainly aware of it now. When this place gets going, there is barely anywhere in the Premier League that is better to be in terms of atmosphere. Even on an early Sunday, they are still up and ready for it, these Newcastle fans. What a start from the Italian, Sandro Tonali. That's his 4th Premier League goal of the season. And his first since a 4-1 win over Manchester United here back in mid-April. It's actually in his last 5 home games, he's committed 4 goal involvements, 3 goals and 1 assist in his last 5 home matches for Newcastle. So he loves this place, and he loves finding the back of the net and helping to find the back of the net at this place. As there might be a little bit of an issue here for Harvey Barnes, it looks like, which might take the, I don't know about the happiness, but the fantastic start, and might curtail it a little bit here. Harvey Barnes gone down, unchallenged, untouched. A little bit innocuous here, this one. They've got bodies on the bench if they need it. Well, when Newcastle score first this season, they've only lost once. 14 wins, 2 draws, and just a single defeat in the 17 games where they've scored first this season. That is some record. And it's a record Chelsea need to find a way of bypassing if they are to give themselves hope and belief. After what a belief they needed when they beat the champions last week. This, a whole different task away at Newcastle, who do have something to play for. As Harvey Barnes is getting treatment. Well, welcome in, Russ. Great to have you with us. Yes, hope is all is well with you as well, Russ. Yeah, we see that again, that moment with Harvey Barnes. It was with Trevor Chalobah, and they kind of collided with the ball there, the 2 players. It's just a little bit of an issue. As we watch Joe Linton watching on in his classic shirt, along with, I believe that's his partner beside him. They're wearing the classic Newcastle shirt, the classic Alan Shearer shirt. And Harvey Barnes is back to his feet and has come to the sideline here, so I'm guessing he will be okay to continue, but we'll keep a close eye on Harvey Barnes. What a start for Newcastle United. And we can and will be able to show you what that will do to the table, because it would be pretty massive what it would do to the table. It really would be a turn up for the books if Newcastle were to come away with a victory here. Well, if either side were to come away for a victory, it would certainly not settle anybody in and around them. Certainly wouldn't settle Arsenal or Manchester City, because this is the way it stands with Newcastle winning. They would jump up to 3rd above Man City and just a single point behind Arsenal. Of course, Arsenal play a little later on away at Liverpool, but that's the way it would stand coming into those games as it stands with Newcastle winning at this moment in time. What a start. Sandro Tonali. Incredible goal. On ball forward by Cher. Seen out there by Cucurella. Away from Jacob Murphy. Will be a Chelsea throw. You gotta say, in these types of games, you gotta take your chances when they come for you. Newcastle, with their first real attack, their first real involvement in the game, they burst forward, won a penalty, and then 15 seconds later they have the ball in the back of the net. I mean, if there's ever a way to get off to a great start, it was certainly that from Newcastle. And it looked like they were under early pressure with Chelsea getting that corner in the first minute, but it transpired to be quite the opposite for the home side, as Gordon was taken out there by Moises Caicedo. As he tracked back into midfield there, Anthony Gordon completely got taken out by the Chelsea man. He tried to spin on the ball, and Caicedo fully committed and just committed the foul. Here's Byrne. He's gone to left back today, of course. I mentioned the couple of injuries in the Newcastle squad. No Kieran Trippier, no Lewis Hall. So there is some rejigging that Newcastle have to do. Dan Byrne, who has ample experience of playing at left back, certainly did it in that Champions League campaign for Newcastle. That was his main starting position for a lot of that campaign, was left back, with Botman and Cher were an untouchable partnership back then. couple of injury issues kind of complicating that a little bit more over the last season or two. Here's Byrne with a switch ball. Out to Livramento. Back to Botman. Tried to find Isak holding the ball up, but it's broke free. And here comes Tonali again. And now it's bursting down the right for Harvey Barnes. Into the box, trying to get a cross in. Blocked well by Colwell. But will go out for a Newcastle throw. Again, much better from Newcastle. Alexander Isak dragging Trevor Chalobah into space, body checking him, and it's Isak that goes down, but the ball breaks for Newcastle and they continue the attack, played the advantage, and they get a throw in high up on the right hand side. Isak is okay, by the way. It's one player Newcastle can't afford to not have in their squad. He is so instrumental. Long throw into the box. Again, not being able to held up there. And no offside there against Tonali. And then Barnes. Here's Livramento. Barnes again, whips it in. Headed away by Colwell. Tonali recycles. Nicely worked by Murphy. Out wide to Barnes and back inside to Murphy again. Lovely play by Newcastle. Murphy. Trying the cross again. Cleared away by Levi Colwell. As Byrne was a little bit loose, but he mopped it up and got it wide. Here comes Gordon, and back into the box. Here's Tino Livramento. Can he get a shot off? He can't really find it. There's no room for Guimaraes either. It's Livramento and Gordon all over the back of Lavia as Lavia clears it long. Well, Chelsea under a bit of pressure at the moment. They're already 1-0 down. Newcastle flexing their muscles in the first 11 minutes here. They certainly woke up with a spring in their step today. Those Newcastle players. The ball whipped across the box and too close to Robert Sanchez. There was bodies queuing up there for Newcastle in the middle. It was well gathered by the Chelsea keeper. No room at all for Chelsea to get out as Tonali commits the foul on Cole Palmer and gets Chelsea the free kick. But there's just no room to manoeuvre whatsoever for Chelsea. Newcastle, the energy emanating inside this stadium is just remarkable. Chelsea just cannot break out. And the pressure reflected on the field. As, have to retake that free kick. Sanchez under pressure. Got it long and away from Isak, but well won back there by Livramento. It actually seems like they're playing a little bit of a back three, Newcastle, from what I can see. A little bit of a back three. I'll keep an eye on that system, but it does look like that for the moment. Here comes Harvey Barnes. Into Isak, trying to return it to Barnes at the byline. Chips it back across. Away by Caicedo. Not fully clear though as Guimaraes takes it down. And the poked effort goes wide. Not too far away there again. Again, it's Harvey Barnes down this right side. He's causing problems galore. Newcastle, as I say, causing problems. Chelsea just can't deal with it. And it's a ball into the box. It's poor header by Caicedo. Doesn't get a clear, and then Guimaraes with the shot. Allowed to chest it down and take the shot. And end up going wide. But it's a bit of chance after chance here for Newcastle in these early moments of this game. And Chelsea just need a little bit of possession. Here's Cole Palmer. Inside to Lavia. Now Cucurella. Madueke goes back to Marc Cucurella. Caicedo playing that inverted role with Chelsea in possession now. So going into midfield. Very compact, this Newcastle defence. It does look like a 5-4-1 out of possession for Newcastle. The back five of Livramento and Murphy as wing backs. And that back three of Byrne, Scher and Botman. And then the four in front of the two midfielders, Guimaraes and Tonali, with the two wingers dropping in as well, and Barnes and Gordon, and Isak the lone centre forward in that 5-4-1. And it just turns into more of a, in a sense, a 3-4-3 whenever Newcastle win it back, with the two wing backs pushing up and the two wingers pushing out wide again into a more traditional front three. An interesting tactic from Eddie Howe. Long ball by Sanchez over the top. Nicely won there by Botman. Just guided back to his defence there from Sandro Tonali. Guimaraes riding the challenge and feeding it into the path here of Harvey Barnes, who's a little bit central. Out wide it goes. Murphy trying to get it across. You can hear the clatter of the ball as it hit off a Chelsea defender in Marc Cucurella. And out for another Newcastle throw. They've had all of the opportunity so far. Chelsea haven't been able to get anywhere near the Newcastle box. By that corner in the first minute, that's been their only attacking move really from Chelsea's point of view. No shots as of yet. Less possession so far, 56-44 in Newcastle's favour. Here's Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon amongst the many threats that Newcastle have further forward. Scored 6 Premier League goals this season, 5 assists. Hasn't registered a goal for Newcastle since the win over Arsenal in the Carabao Cup semi-finals. He's played 8 Premier League games since then and hasn't been able to find the net in any of them. His last Premier League goal came against Wolves on a 3-0 win here back in mid-January for Anthony Gordon, of course. So we'll see what way he turns out today. And that was on a run of form. We'd actually scored or assisted in quite a number of goals in succession. I'll tell you about that in a moment, because here's Isak into the box. Crowded out wide to Barnes, back inside to Isak, a little bit more space. Trying to link up with Guimaraes, but well closed out by Cucurella, who tracked the centre forward well. Will be a Newcastle throw though. As I was saying, that Wolves game was the end of a pretty decent run from Anthony Gordon, scoring or assisting in 9 successive games for Newcastle, all the way back to mid-December, between mid-December and mid-January. He was in hot rod of form. Here come Chelsea into the box with Madueke. Ball chipped across, no one at the back post. That's easily retrieved by Anthony Gordon, who spots Endo Fernandez behind him and just recycles it back for Newcastle. They're toying about their own box here, Newcastle, but they take the risk and they seemingly get the reward of space now. Down the right side as it's going to be a burst away from Murphy. Trying to get away from Enzo Fernandez, who drags him to the ground. And that's going to be a free kick to Newcastle. And this might be a worry, because Sven Botman's gone down now. Whether that's in response to a challenge or it is just a little knock. He was caught there by Caicedo. And my goodness, Caicedo flying into him like he's Superman there. Real Superman dive into him. Yeah. Botman is okay. Of course, injuries would be a concern for Newcastle. They need to perform in those big games. They have a couple to come. They trip to Arsenal next weekend. Will be another tasty affair to keep an eye out for next weekend here in LFS. As Newcastle get ready to take this free kick. It is Tonali lifting it towards the box. The header by Byrne. Back across, and the shot was a little bit off the ground from Isak. If he hit that clean, that was real worry for Chelsea, but he just kind of hit it right into the ground. And it bounced up into the hands of Sanchez. That was a good header, one at the back post by Botman. And then it's a cross for Isak, who just couldn't catch it on the volley. It hits the ground and bounces up for the Chelsea keeper. Gordon applying the press. Sanchez sent the ball long again, and chase here down the left side for Madueke, but no room. Throw into Newcastle. Well, we talked about where Newcastle would be with a win today. If Chelsea lose today, as I said, they could be at the mercy of those below them. They lose today, Chelsea. Forest would win. If Forest win later and Chelsea lose, then Nottingham Forest would be up to 5th in the table. Chelsea would drop to 6th. Villa would drop to 7th. That is only with a defeat for Chelsea today. That would be the case. Here they are trying to reduce the deficit. Cole Palmer's effort. Deflected behind for the corner. Yeah, right from the edge of the box there. It broke forward down this left side with Madueke. Ball cleared away from the cross. It's kept alive by Enzo Fernandez, and it was Cole Palmer who got a second shot at the ball. Deflected for the corner, which they've taken short. And it's whipped in, but right into the hands of Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal. Pretty simple one that for Nick Pope. Catch and practice for the England international. Excuse me. 20 minutes gone. Newcastle leading by a goal to nil. Newcastle maybe could be further ahead with the chance they're creating. A lot of ball in behind. This isn't Sanchez. Had to come and get it because they were under pressure there. The run in behind from Harvey Barnes almost caught out the Chelsea defence. It was Colwell that had the chase, and he had the help of his goalkeeper in getting the ball away from danger. Newcastle looking up for this. Maybe could be further ahead with the chances they're creating. But Chelsea might be seeing a little glimpse. One or two little flickers of the Newcastle goal, which might give them a little bit of extra confidence in trying to come back into this one. Here's Caicedo. Not in a hurry to get the ball forward into Palmer. Back inside to Lavia. Again, quite crowded out that central area from Newcastle defensively. Caicedo. Squared across to Cucurella. Onto Fernandez, back to Cucurella. Excuse me. Goodness. Again, they look really laboured at the minute, Chelsea. There's just no way through. I think they're trying to find the ball through the middle, but how compacted and how kind of narrow Newcastle are out of possession. There's just no room for them to find. The bank of 5, then the bank of 4 in front of it, and then the chasing Alexander Isak in front of that. It's constant pressure as they lose the ball here, but it's going to be a free kick to Romeo Lavia, who was fouled there. A nice press by Newcastle, but just maybe a bit too overzealous with the challenge there. Bruno Guimaraes, and a free kick to Chelsea. Again, it's more example of there's just no room for Chelsea to manoeuvre. Well, there's a nice ball into space here. Can they find a way to get it towards the box? But the block from Sven Botman sees it out for the corner. It was Nicholas Jackson made the run in behind. Got in and around the back 4, and they fed the ball over the top towards him. In the end, he took it to the byline and wins the corner off Sven Botman. Maybe bypassing the midfield could be an idea from Chelsea. Tried it last week against Liverpool. Nicholas Jackson was offside quite a number of times. We have a corner here on this left side. Left-footed delivery across the front post and away. At the front post for another corner. It was Murphy that made the clearance on this side. Gotta say, it's quite warm again. Starting to feel the summer temperatures coming through. Another corner here for Chelsea on the left-hand side. Fernandez, left-footed, swung away and cleared away by Botman, although the shot from distance is swept wide by Moises Caicedo. goal kick. Yeah, it was a nice takedown initially, and then he set himself up for the strike. It was a clean strike, but it was just too wide of the target. Zem7 says, I have a question. What time is El Clasico today? UK time, it is at 3:15. 3:15 kickoff. El Clasico, UK time. That's going to be a tasty affair. Of course, for the La Liga title. Barca 4 points ahead of Real, if I'm not mistaken. They are heading into the final 4 games of the season there in La Liga. Looking forward to that one. I'll keep an eye on it anyway. A reminder for you, this is not the only action we have for you today. We have another game coming a little later on as the champions are in action again, as we watch Liverpool take on Arsenal. 4:30 from Anfield as the champions return to their home. The first time they will head into Anfield as champions. Of course, last time they played at Anfield was against the other North London side, Spurs, and they were confirmed champions that day. So that's at 4:30 for Liverpool against Arsenal. Have a little break in between. Keep an eye on that Nottingham Forest game. Long kick from this free kick by Sandro Tonali. Flicked on. Flicked on again towards the new Chelsea box as it's cleared away. Brought down by Anthony Gordon. And inside to Cher. Nicely held up there. Lovely little move. A bit too high for Cher. He's got it. Can I get it across? It's cleared away in the 6-yard box again. So threatening from Newcastle. Murphy's ball guides away. It's still alive with Barnes, and the shot right down the throat of the goalkeeper. Really nice work. Yeah, lovely little move. It's good work from Barnes. Thought he'd lost the ball. He kept it. He dribbled it round his man and then got the shot off at Robert Sanchez. Simple enough catch and save for Robert Sanchez to make, but you don't shoot, you don't score. And they all count in the end if they do find the back of the nets. And for now, it's just, again, very simply, Newcastle very much on top of this game at the moment. They've got the lead from the second minute when Sandro Tonali found the back of the net via Jacob Murphy cross. All that came right after a penalty claim for Newcastle that was waved away by the referee. And their persistence paid off in winning that and getting that goal. As that's a little loose away from Cucurella, kept inside by Madueke. Fernandez. Lavia. Back to Cucurella. Having a little more possession, Chelsea, but once again, Newcastle at the moment sitting in that really rigid defensive shape. It's not showing too many gaps or spaces for Chelsea to try and exploit at the moment. They're very centrally creative players in the likes of Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez. That ball fed over the top. But it was a nice idea, but in the end, Madueke closely covered. And the ball easily gathered by Nick Pope. You see it again, Cole Palmer incredibly deep just to trying to get on the ball. And he just effortlessly flicked it towards the box in the path of Madueke, but the defender for Newcastle had it covered, and then Nick Pope, the Newcastle keeper, got it under control. Nicely thumped away there by Caicedo from the good move down the left side for Newcastle. James says this game is as important as yesterday's game for Villa fans. Indeed it is. What type of result would actually be beneficial to Villa? I would say one of these two teams losing, because a draw, I mean, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but at the same time, well, to be fair, if they both draw, it would be worse for Nottingham Forest because they would have less points, but for Villa, it would mean they would be within touching distance of the top 5 and 2 places in the top 5, so they could squeeze their way in. Yeah, it could be a good idea, actually. But if one of those two teams lose, then one of these two teams lose, Villa would have the only goal difference behind them, at least one of them. It's going to be a fascinating final few weeks of the season. You don't want to miss it because it will be twists and turns all the way through, and I think we'll try and keep up to date with as much of it as we can right the way through, because we will have so much action for you. If we can get a quick look at next weekend's schedule, we have a busy Sunday next week as well for you, as we watch Arsenal take on Newcastle. That could be a battle for second place come next week. The way it's going at the moment, we have the final game at Goodison, and we're still unsure whether we'll have that Nottingham Forest game away at West Ham, but we probably will. But we will let you know on that one. Here's Isak, short to Gordon, and cleared away by Chalobah for Chelsea as Palmer tries to turn it into an attacking opportunity here. Cole Palmer drifting away into the Newcastle half. Spins back on himself. And feeds the ball out to the left side for Marco Correa. Yeah, busy week next weekend. We've Friday night action for you from Stamford Bridge. Chelsea taking on Man United. That's next Friday. Then Saturday, of course, is the FA Cup final. That's at 4:30 next Saturday evening, or next Saturday afternoon, for you from Wembley, of course. Then next Sunday we've more Premier League action. Then Monday night we have Brighton against Liverpool as well. So lots of Premier League action next weekend for you as we lead up to the final day on Sunday the 25th of May, where all 10 games, all 20 teams in action at the exact same time, all with a 4 o'clock kickoff, and we'll be live from 3:30 on Sunday the 25th of May, half an hour before kickoff, building up to those games and what can happen on the final day, because it could be a tasty one as Chelsea and Nottingham Forest go head to head on the final day. That could be a real battle for Champions League come that point. James says, anything other than a Chelsea win, since I don't see Newcastle dropping out of the UCL spots. And Surya says, as a Geordie, we need to win this for Champions League. Well, I would say both teams, Newcastle and Chelsea, are in ample position. But what I would say is, neither have easy games to the end of the season. You know, Chelsea, Man United at home, I mean, it's Man United, they probably should win that game, but you never know. History and for previous rivalry could come into action, as here come Newcastle on the breakaway with Barnes. He's got Gordon in the channel. Here's Anthony Gordon. He's got Barnes with a cutback. Finds Harvey Barnes, who tries to switch it across to Isak, but just a little bit wayward there from Harvey Barnes. And that attack comes to an end. But once again, the breakaway, Barnes is the outball all the time here for Newcastle. This time centrally. And he's got no one tracking him, no one marking him whatsoever. Feeds it wide to Gordon. Gordon back into Barnes. Again, no one tracking him. And as the ball just kind of tries to come across, he tries to get it across to Isak at the back post there, Barnes. But he just under-hits it and hits it in the wrong direction. As there's going to be a stoppage here. There's going to be a free kick and a yellow card going the way of Nicholas Jackson for a foul on a Newcastle player here. It's Sven Botman that he fouled. See this again. I think this is going to be... I think a yellow card's very, very lenient here. There is no need for Nicholas Jackson to do that. He leans into Sven Botman and uses his arm as leverage, but does not get any of the ball, and in my opinion, doesn't attempt to make any touch on the ball. He looks right at the man and then shoves his arm in his face. I think he's very lucky there not to be shown a different colour of card, Nicholas Jackson. VAR are checking it though, so the hopes for Nicholas Jackson are not done yet. I think this is serious foul play. I do think it's a red card challenge. I think you're going in at such pace, and he's just never going to win the ball. And he takes out the man with his arm before the ball's even in question. I think it's dangerous, and I think it's a red card in my opinion. The referee gave yellow on the field, John Brooks, and VAR was checking it. Darren England was having a look. Well, from what I can see, I mean, Van Botman's holding his nose, and the referee has been called to the monitor. Darren England recommends that the referee has another look at the screen here. This could be yellow turning red in the case of Nicholas Jackson. In my opinion, Jackson goes in, he looks directly at Sven Botman before he makes the challenge, and he uses his elbow. It's not an out-and-out elbow, but what he does is he gets his arm across the man, but his elbow goes right into the face of Sven Botman, and it takes him down, and then he can't play the ball. Neither can play the ball. I think this is serious, really dangerous, and I think Nicholas Jackson should be seen showing red here. I can understand where Nicholas Jackson what he wants to do. He's trying to shield his man, but what he does is he gets the man's face with his arm. And on that occasion, I think that's a red card. And the referee is going to change the decision. Yellow is rescinded, and here comes the red. Nicholas Jackson is off, and Chelsea are without their striker. Well, this first half has gone from bad to worse for the travelling Chelsea, who chase European football, but Nicholas Jackson has been shown red for his reckless and rash challenge with his arm on Sven Botman. And this first half has gone from a great start to an even better first half for Newcastle United. A lead and now the man advantage. If you're Newcastle now, you grab this opportunity with both hands. And Nicholas Jackson sees red. In my opinion, it's the correct decision, because I thought yellow was a little bit lenient in first glance. And you gotta say, it's one of those where it's just not necessary to do. I agree with you, Surya. It wasn't a pointed elbow, but it was definitely an elbow into the face. He didn't directly go in with that, but what he did was he shielded across with his arm, a little bit more angled, and his elbow did catch Sven Botman in the face. And he looks right at the man, so he doesn't look at the ball before he makes the challenge, which would have saved him. If he was looking at the ball and then caught the man inadvertently but while looking away, then he would have been fine. But what he did was he looked directly at Sven Botman before he made the challenge. So he knew exactly where the man was. And there was no excuse to then say, oh, well, I didn't know where he was, or it was an accidental one. It looked... Not that it was malicious. Oh! The header from Dan Burn there just went wide. Just as we restarted. And Dan Burn with a long ball into the box here from the right side by... Is that Livramento? Burn might be just offside anyway, but the header not too far away. It had Robert Sanchez diving. He was nowhere near it, the goalkeeper. Wouldn't have been anywhere near it. And that would have been a great goal. And he was offside anyway. And that's Dan Burn. But yeah, it's definitely a red card in my opinion. I'll try and get a screenshot of it and show you at half time. But that is another big twist in this tale this afternoon. And all the twists going the way of Newcastle at the moment. And maybe a little bit towards Aston Villa. And Nottingham Forest too. We'll see how Forest react a little later on. Their 2:15 kickoff. Here comes Neto. Well, shielded out of the way by Tino Livramento. And Anthony Gordon helping out as well. As there was another foul there. This time by Romeo Lavia on Bruno Guimaraes. And it's going to be a free kick to Newcastle, and I think Romeo Lavia is just going to be spoken to here by the referee. John Brooks, yeah, he just shoved him out of the way. It's just a free kick. There's nothing more else in it, that one. Just one of those. He was challenging for the ball. He shoved the man out of the way, and it's definitely a free kick. Jim says I'm a magpie for today. I'd love to hear what Enzo Maresca thinks of it. Of course, he'd probably say, oh, it's never a red card. Well, funnily enough, Enzo Maresca's got a card of his own. He's been shown yellow here by the referee. just confirm for you that red card to Nicholas Jackson. There's the confirmation of it there. Jackson was shown red. He was initially shown yellow, and the referee changed that decision as Enzo Maresca, the Chelsea manager, was also shown a card, this time a yellow card. I don't know if you're being a little bit too optimistic, James. I mean, I wouldn't bet against Newcastle scoring more against 10 men, but here come Chelsea. Here's Noni Madueke. Gets it across. Pedro Neto's flick on. They got the block in there, but they needed it to. There's another man in there for Chelsea as well. Here's Gordon. Lays it on to Livramento. Back inside to Bruno Guimaraes. Nice football there from Newcastle. That's what all really needs to happen now for Newcastle. Just stay calm, stay composed, and focus on your game. Don't get too kind of heightened by the fact that you're playing against 10 men now. Because that's what you see a lot of times when teams don't do well against 10 men. It's because they focus on that aspect of the game. Oh, we're playing against 10, we've got this advantage. They be a little bit more cocky about the situation. And I think just settle down. Chelsea are still a very good side. They've lost a striker, so they've not lost a defender. They've not lost a midfielder. They've lost their centre forwards. They might have a lack of attack and output a little bit less than what they would have, but they still have a strong defence and a strong midfield in their way with the 10 that they've got on the field. So they're not going to be an easy pushover. But of course, with the one less player on the field, will certainly give Newcastle an advantage. Of course it will. But as we saw last night, Aston Villa went down to 10. Jacob Ramsey was shown a second yellow in that one away at Bournemouth, and they held on for a great result. They had something to hold on to at that point, Aston Villa. Chelsea have really nothing to hold on to. They've nothing to lose at the minute. Goal down and a man down as we edge closer to half-time. Here's Anthony Gordon battling with Chalobah. Chalobah comes out the better, and Neto comes away with the ball. Pedro Neto off wide to Caicedo, and now inside to Fernandes. Back to Chalobah. And Robert Sanchez knocks long, but right out of play for a throw. Hopefully Chelsea's frustration shows and they get another red, says James. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. There are some players in this Chelsea squad that can lose their heads, and I don't think that will happen. Very rarely you ever see a team go down to 9 men in a Premier League game. It's not often it happened. I think it has happened this season, but I just don't remember what game it was, but it certainly has happened. We will get you that screenshot of the incident at half-time. That's a lovely little move, and the shot from Barnes is wide. I think I might have took a deflection from Trevor Chalobah on the way through, but that was lovely off the right side there from Jacob Murphy. Played it into the path of Guimaraes, who laid it off for Harvey Barnes on the outside, and a shot well blocked by Trevor Chalobah sliding in. Will be a corner to Newcastle, but that was much better football from the home side. 2 minutes of the normal time to go. Newcastle corner, their first of this game. Taken short by Barnes and Tonali. Cuts it back to Harvey Barnes in the edge of the box, who will whip one across, and the header by Byrne is headed down and into the hands of Robert Sanchez. Didn't quite get the ferocity on that one that he did on his last header down, Byrne. He was onside this time. He's just kind of maybe slightly put off by the Chelsea player in front of him. Here's Noni Madueke to give Chelsea a little bit of an outball here. They burst towards the box, but again, too far away from a Chelsea player, and Newcastle can easily retrieve. Here's Bruno Guimaraes. Well, one thing Chelsea are going to need to rely on is their counter-attacking play and their ability to break in transition. Newcastle will be desperate for that second goal, just to settle the game a little more. And maybe demoralise Chelsea even further than what they probably would be at the moment. As they say for Chelsea, keep it tight at the back. Don't give too many chances away. And try and break on the counter. You've got Pearson, Neto and Madueke either side. Either winger. Try and threaten. That's nice football from Newcastle again. And the cutback from Isak was cleared away. That's what Chelsea need to do. But this is what Newcastle also need to do, is keep the ball in and around the box. Try and create a really good scoring opportunity from them. There's space to do that. Gordon. Cross to Botman. Now out to Fabian Schär. Down the right side comes Alexander Isak, who feeds it in behind for Guimaraes. Murphy. Back to Isak, finding Tonali. Isak gets into the middle. Isak with a heavy touch. Can he direct it behind? He can't. And it goes off Isak last for a goal kick. Tried to walk it into the net there, Alexander Isak. Gives it away. Gives it out wide to Tonali again in behind. And gets the ball back and then touches again. And then touches for a third time and it goes out of play. He almost walked it into the net. He just couldn't get it past the Chelsea keeper and then had the last touch on the rebound. As we will have 6 added minutes at the end of this first half, by the way. 6 added minutes. Of course, with that red card moment, a couple of injury issues as well. Ball over the top by Enzo Fernandez. Nicely chested inside by Pedro Neto, who lays it off to Madueke. Madueke onto Palmer. Might get a touch of luck here, Palmer, but runs out of room. And it's only going to be a goal kick to Newcastle. Palmer was certain it was a corner, but the officials disagree. And Enzo Maresca. What will he do with his side at half-time to try and not only give them a little bit more defensive solidity, but a little bit of a counter-attacking threat? What will he spot? What will he work out? Now no pinned centre forward with Nicholas Jackson. Maybe a 4-4-1 here for Chelsea, with the moment Palmer playing as the lone forward centrally as it stands at the moment, out of possession. Here comes Murphy down the right side. Inside to Tonali. Byrne. Space down this left here for Anthony Gordon. Inside to find Livramento. Byrne with a lofted ball back towards Botman. Nicely dealt with. Beautifully controlled. And they're just passing around so deftly here at the minute, Newcastle. There's no real pressure, no real duress, no real worry. Just pinging it about. That ball was half cut out by Cucurella, brought down by Harvey Barnes again. Here's Guimaraes. Right wide it goes again, this time to Murphy and Barnes. And now Tonali back down wide to Murphy, who gets it to the edge. Isak's flick on. Just evaded Anthony Gordon and cleared away by Chelsea. And here they come on the break. Pedro Neto bursting away from Dan Burn. Neto's on his own at the moment. Pedro Neto! Well blocked by Sven Botman, who got back in just in the nick of time. With Pedro Neto getting a shot off. But that's what I mean. That bursting counter-attacking pace from Pedro Neto can be that threat for Chelsea in transition. And they've got a corner out of this situation with Sven Botman's deflection. My goodness. Pedro Neto absolutely blasting his way down that right side. And here comes Enzo Fernandez with this corner. Well, he's in the box. Enzo Fernandez, delivery. Up in the air by Chalobah. But right back down into the hands of Nick Pope. It's a looping ball by the Chelsea centre-back. That offered no threat whatsoever as Isak slightly caught on the break there. Tonali feeds it out wide to Gordon. He's taken on Cole Palmer. Gordon goes to ground and fouled by Cole Palmer. Free kick to Newcastle. And Anthony Gordon in more pain here, holding his right shin. See this again. It's a good break down the left side by Gordon, tussling both players, and then Gordon just goes over, but I don't think there's much contact in it from either of the two players there, really. Kind of tussling at each other. I would, in my opinion, say that was a little bit harsh. And now Enzo Fernandez has got himself a yellow card. Well, maybe James is right in the chat. Chelsea are a little bit of head loss going on here. Not keeping their cool whatsoever. And their captain is now booked for whatever he had to say to the referee, John Brooks. Now a free kick for Newcastle with just a minute of the first half to go. Tonali goes short, or Livramento, sorry, goes short. Gordon across. Murphy's delivery into the box, over the head of everyone, although Livramento kept it alive and poked wide there in the end for a goal kick. Yeah, see it again. You think it's gone. Enzo Fernandez thinks it's going out. Livramento round the blind side of him. Almost caught them out there. Almost catching Enzo Fernandez out. I think this might be the end of the first half when Robert Sanchez takes this kick. There it is, the half-time whistle at St James's Park. And after 51 minutes of a first half, where there was quite a bit of action, the dramatic start when Sandro Tonali found the back of the net inside 2 minutes for Newcastle to give them the lead. And then not long before the end of the first half, just 10 minutes to go in the half, and Nicholas Jackson, initially shown a yellow, VAR changed it to a red, and the Chelsea players are not happy with something with the referee here at half-time. Told to go away by the referee, and they're really frustrated, this Chelsea side. The frustration is palpable from the Blues, but as the Magpies, at the minute, soaring their way to the Champions League. Half-time, it's Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. Back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Sorry for the delay there. 6 minutes to go until the second half gets underway at St James's Park. Just get myself a bit of a motivation coffee at half time, because I gotta say, I'm not used to being up at this time. I know it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon now, but I've been up since 10:30. I'm not used to that on a Sunday. Usually doing the 2 o'clock matches, but we're here. We're enjoying it. It's a great game so far. Newcastle 1 up at the half. Chelsea down to 10. Nicholas Jackson shown a red card. Initially shown a yellow, then was changed and rescinded and changed to a red. Now, whether or not Chelsea would appeal it afterwards and all that, we've seen that with the Evan Nielsen red card for Bournemouth a few weeks ago against Manchester United. That was rescinded a couple of days after, and on reflection I had to say that I did agree that was correct to rescind that decision, so or that red card from the man, because I remember saying on the day, oh, it's definitely a red card, but yeah, reflecting on it, it wasn't a red card. I'm trying to get that moment again from the Nicholas Jackson challenge, just to get you a glimpse if you haven't seen it. If you have, then fair enough, but if you haven't, I will try and get that image on the screen for you, if we can. Here we are, we're getting a good image here. I'll get that up on the screen just before we get ready for the second half then, at the moment. There we go. Right, so that will be coming up on the screen in just a second. But that first half, really, just to summarise it, it was a first half where Chelsea were kind of second best all the way through. I don't think at any point I would say, oh, Chelsea were great in that first half, or Newcastle were under pressure. I don't think at any point, and I don't think Eddie Howe would be saying to his players, oh, we have to be careful here, or this, that and the other. Of course he would be saying, be wary that they still have that counter-attacking pace with the quality players that they have. But it's advantage Newcastle, most certainly, obviously, having the extra man. But, you know, this is an opportunity to really put your marker down for a top 5 finish. This is the challenge then again. In a better look at it, this is the challenge. So this is the decision. That is the elbow from Nicholas Jackson that was given as a yellow initially, but rescinded and changed to a red card by VAR. Of course, the VAR recommending that the referee, John Brooks, go to the screen and have another look at it. And that is the decision that John Brooks came to change it to a red card. And I think that's a fair decision. I think, in my opinion, from what I saw, it was a red card. I looked at it initially and I remember saying in the commentary, oh, I think that's a bit lenient to give a yellow there, because I think that looked a bit more serious. And the crowd reacted instantly as if it was a red card, and I'm surprised the referee maybe just bottled it a little bit. Maybe didn't want to give a red card unless it wasn't, and then the VAR might not get involved and didn't see it as an error, so he didn't want to maybe cock it up, the referee. But one thing that he certainly did was he came to the screen, checked it again, and I think did come to the ultimate right decision to send Nicholas Jackson off. The Chelsea players, Chelsea fans, the Chelsea manager will probably complain, but in my opinion, when you go in with a challenge like that, and he looks at Sven Botman before he does it, so in my opinion, that is intent. And intent, of course, doesn't matter, but at the same time, I do think he intended to try and block Sven Botman. Whether he intended to elbow him, I'm not too sure. We can never tell that. I would never accuse a player of malicious intent, but what I would say is Nicholas Jackson knew where the player was and then couldn't use that excuse of saying, oh, well, I didn't know where he was, because he looked straight at him, and the evidence is there that he looked straight at him before he made that challenge. Right, second half is on the way, and it's hot-footing it towards the second half here. 2 minutes to go until we're back on the way. A reminder for you that we've got another game later on for you. 4:30 kickoff from Anfield as the champions are in action, as they take on Arsenal, who could come third in a two-horse race. That is some exciting. Arsenal fans have been giving stick to Spurs fans for many's a year about that, when they came third in a two-horse race against Leicester back in 2016. Arsenal might be in the same boat here this evening. If results don't go their way next weekend and they lose today, they could really be on the chopping block and could mean neither second or third, could possibly finish fourth or fifth come Arsenal. But that's getting a little bit dramatic between now and the end of the season. But it's not done and dusted for Arsenal, so they've got still 3 games with still a bit on the line for Arsenal. We'll be back for the second half at James's Park. It's Newcastle 1, Chelsea 0. Chelsea, down to 10. We'll be back for the second half in just a moment. Welcome back to Premier League Live. Second half at St James's Park on the way in just a moment. Don't forget to like, subscribe and turn on post notifications if you haven't done so already, and it's greatly appreciated that you all join us here this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for this one. I'm sure you're keenly watching to see who wins this one this afternoon. Newcastle against Chelsea. Two sides battling for the top 5 places in the Premier League. Both inside the top 5 at the moment, but one of them could be outside the top 5 come the day's end. If Nottingham Forest win later, and whoever loses this game would be outside the top 5, and Forest would be taking their spot in the top 5 places. That's the way it stands at the moment. Forest play at 2:15, so we'll wait for the conclusion of this one before Nottingham Forest. They'll know their job no matter what happens here. They must win their game to really keep it a tasty affair. Remember, Chelsea and Nottingham Forest play each other at the City Ground on the final day. That could be some tasty final day action in the Premier League in 2 weeks' time. That's all there is left now. This time 2 weeks, we'll be preparing for the final day of the season. Another campaign done and dusted. Don't worry, once we finish the domestic campaign and the club season, we will have the Club World Cup. We will have some of those games here on LFS over the summer, so we'll keep you posted and keep you entertained throughout June and July with a couple of those games coming your way, and of course a couple of probably podcasts, summer chats, some transfer chats. So we'll have action, and interesting content coming up for you in the summer part of the season, the off season. As there's going to be a free kick there to Pedro Neto, given away by Anthony Gordon. See this again. He lost the ball, Gordon. He tried to drop back to win it, and he kind of shoved Pedro Neto out of the way to do so. It's definitely a foul. But really, I'd say the pressure's now on Newcastle. You know, I think the pressure was slightly on them coming into this one anyway, being the home side, being the side that probably have the better, in that sense, have a little more to prove. In the fact that Chelsea just beat the champions last week, and albeit the champions, nothing to play for. Liverpool have already won the league, so it's not a massive worry for them. I think I can say as a Liverpool fan, I wasn't massively worried about that defeat to Chelsea last week. They needed what they needed, and Liverpool needed nothing, really. It's going to be an issue here with Tino Livramento, which is not, is something to worry about, as he is in pain, and he's going to get this treatment, so we do have a stoppage in play for the moment, which allows me to have another little bit of a snack. I haven't had anything to eat yet either. It's that early in the day. One of these snack bars. This will give me something. I do apologise for the noise. While there is a stoppage in play, there's no better time to do it. We see this one again from Tino Livramento. He kind of, the way he landed, it kind of got him in that situation where his leg kind of jolted a little awkwardly, and in the end that could have been more dangerous than it turned out to be. He's okay and should be okay to return to the field of play in a moment, but they were doing an ACL test, so that's something you don't want to see, is a ACL problem, which is one of those long-term injuries. But he's okay to continue, Tino Livramento. Maybe just a bit of a jolting of the leg and caused that instant pain, but he is okay to continue. Lovely little drag back by Cole Palmer, who will hit one from distance, but not massive pace or power in that one, and no real worry for Nick Pope in the Newcastle goal as they want to break down this left-hand side with Livramento. Feeds a lovely ball in behind for Gordon. He's shoved to the ground, and it's going to be no penalty. Just a goal kick to Newcastle. That's the second time today that Newcastle wanted a penalty, and the referee John Brooks says no, and I think he's completely correct here. From what I can see, the substitute Reece James for Chelsea, their club captain, just strong arms him basically. It's good defending. It's not foul. Certainly not a penalty. Chelsea get a bit loose in possession, and it entices the Newcastle press, which gets Chelsea a free kick for a foul on Pedro Neto. But a little bit scrappy from Newcastle there. Sanchez with a far from enamouring clearance, and it's stolen away by Murphy. Murphy drifting into the box. Jacob Murphy across on the spin. Couldn't get the shot off, was Harvey Barnes. And now kept alive up there by Sven Botman. He lost it, and Caicedo charging away. Here comes Enzo Fernandez, a bit end-to-end at the moment. Here's Enzo Fernandez for Chelsea. Into Cole Palmer. Not much room to manoeuvre now for Palmer and his teammates. Out wide it goes here to Pedro Neto. Back to Reece James, who I failed to mention did come on at half-time for Noni Madueke, so an extra defender, maybe a change of approach for Enzo Maresca. Maybe going to a 5, a 3 at the back maybe. Maybe pushing Cucurella a little further forward maybe. Well, here is Marc Cucurella. Nice combination through the centre, but Palmer with a heavy touch allows Newcastle back in. And now they're running behind for Gordon. He's charging down on goal, but Levi Colwell, strong defending again, shoving Anthony Gordon out of the way. Sanchez, nice ball into the midfield here for Caicedo with space. Not afraid to commit bodies forward, Chelsea, despite being down to 10. Here's Neto, battling Dan Burn. And that wins Newcastle a goal kick, which gets a rising applause from the crowd. Yeah, it's a great challenge by Dan Burn. And look at the celebration from the Newcastle defender. And dealing with that situation cleanly. Long ball over the top, looking for the run of him in behind there from Alexander Isak. Chelsea deal with it. James says, Villa Newcastle here to smash the traditional big six. Indeed. Indeed. Nice work from Palmer. Down the right side is Neto. Chelsea having a little bit of joy here at the start of this half. Neto's ball floated in. Away by Fabian Schär. Kept alive by Cucurella on this left side for Chelsea. I don't know about that, James. I don't think it was a penalty. In my opinion, from what I could see, it looked like Reece James just kind of shielded it and kind of strong-armed him. I don't think he committed a foul. You know, we see that strong challenging. There's going to be a yellow card here for Fabian Schär for a foul on Romeo Lavia here. Or no, not Romeo Lavia. Enzo Fernandez, who got the ball from Lavia. Yeah, it's definitely a foul. And a yellow card as well. Fabian Schär with the yellow card. Long ball forward, out wide to Cucurella for Chelsea. Goes for the early cross in. Not many in blue in there, and Dan Burn was able to deal with that situation. Loose ball away, but look at the space for Isak to pick it up. And here's Harvey Barnes. They're giving it away again, Newcastle. They've been very sloppy to start this half. Maybe the extra man is getting into their head, and they're being a little too impatient with the ball. Trying to be too direct. Newcastle. Chelsea are getting a little bit of joy out of this. These early moments of this second half. Here's Reece James. Out wide to Pedro Neto. Well, so far, Chelsea have had 77% of the ball in the second half. They had just 43% of it in the first half, so... Fair enough, James. I mean, you're probably saying what all the rival fans are feeling, in that sense. The Villa fans, probably the City fans as well, and the Nottingham Forest fans. You're probably saying what everybody's feeling, in that sense. I mean, I've no skin in the game. I'm not really worried at what happens below. I'm excited to see what happens, but I've no kind of qualms over who gets it and who doesn't get the top 5. As they're going to make a change here at Newcastle. Sven Botman's going to be coming off, and it's going to see Lewis Miley coming on. So maybe a switch in formation maybe for Newcastle. Maybe go to a traditional back 4. Yeah, probably a more traditional back 4 maybe coming for Newcastle here. Lewis Miley coming on. Trying to offer a little bit of energy into this Newcastle side. Just rejuvenate them a little bit. In this second half, they just need a little bit of extra, not quality, but extra little bit of ball control, really. It's been a little bit loose at the start of the half. Ball over the top. Gordon trying to squeeze in behind. And it's cleared away. Fair enough, James. At the end of the day, from Liverpool's point of view, there are some teams I would rather not see in the top 5, but again, it's no skin off my back. I don't really care. But I would like to see someone else, someone new in the Champions League this season. We like to see different teams in it every year. We don't want it to be the same collection of teams. And the likes of a Villa and a Nottingham Forest, even Newcastle, somewhat Chelsea, they've not been in the top 5 in a while, in the top 4 for a while. So it's good to see a number of different teams in fighting for the top 5. It does make it more interesting. It's Fernandes, nice ball out wide here to Cucurella. This could be a chance for Chelsea. Cucurella's cross comes right into the hands of Nick Pope. No cutting edge in that box there from Chelsea. Welcome back, ZM7. Coffee's really nice. Well, 11.5 minutes of the second half gone. Starting to think Newcastle are getting a little bit more control. Lovely ball in behind for Isak. He's got on the back of his man. And Levi Colwill does just enough to hold on there. That's really strong defending by the Chelsea centre-back. And they've got a corner here, Newcastle, off of Levi Colwill. I'll get to your comment in a moment, James. I do have a point to make on that. Yeah, definitely. Corner here for Newcastle then. Right hand side. Got height in there. Dan Burns already got 2 headers. Tonali's delivery over the head, and Isak hit it on the volley, but he hit it well off target. Not like him. He missed the chance earlier on, Alexander Isak, in a very good opportunity. This one a lot harder to take on the volley. It's coming right at him, and to get the whip and the spin and the power and accuracy on it is particularly difficult from that sort of narrow angle. Oh, here's a nice move from Cucurella down their left side. I've seen a lot more forward movement from Marc Cucurella. He's further forward in this second half. So they certainly tweaked things at half-time, Chelsea. Marc Cucurella was a lot deeper than he is in this second half than he was in the first half. Or a lot further forward, I mean, in the second half than he was in the first. Lavia. James. Out wide to Palmer. Players waiting in and around the edge of the box. Lavia. Straight through to Neto. Back it comes again to Romeo Lavia. Again, there's just no way through this Newcastle defence. They've swapped it from a 5-4-1 to a 4-5-1 in midfield. So they have gone back to a traditional back 4. Newcastle. Murphy, I think, is playing right back at the minute, Jacob Murphy. Byrne, Cher and Livramento, the back 4. And the other 3 in that back 4. Here's a breakaway for Moises Caicedo, who body checks his man out of the way, and Anthony Gordon, he's getting through around like a rag doll, Anthony Gordon, in the second half. And the ball all the way back to Nick Pope, though. Not real much worry about that one. James says, not Forest. I'm happy they've done well, but have you tried watching a Forest game? They bore teams to death and then score when they fall asleep. I mean, fair enough. It's a very intense point, but it is also nice, though, to see Forest doing it a different way, though. They're a counter-attacking team at their core, you know. Sit deep, defend situations, and then hit on the counter-attack. It's nice to see a team doing it a different way rather than being all-out attacking and kind of dominating possession, 67% of the ball. You need a little bit of variety in the way that things happen, and it goes to point that there's just not one way of playing football. There's many different ways of playing football and being successful and getting results. You know, it's kind of become a bit robotic over the last few years, football, and Nottingham Forest being successful with a different style of play, different system, is quite refreshing. This is Newcastle on the break. Nice 1-2 combinations But the final ball couldn't pick out a man in the middle. Harvey Barnes, a lovely combination down that right side. Just needed the final pass to be nice and perfect to try and find the back of the net, but Barnes just hit it too close to the Chelsea keeper. Only a goal down, Chelsea. They are a man down, and we've hit the hour mark, and it's still 1-0 to Newcastle United. That's what it's been since the second minute of this game. But are Chelsea having a little bit more positivity to cling on to in the second half? Lovely ball by Palmer. Here's Cucurella, forcing a good save off Nick Pope. That's a good save by Pope, but it needed to be made. That was a good effort by Mark Cucurella. Lovely ball by Cole Palmer. Cucurella in space in the box, and he just unleashes that effort with his left foot. Right down, across goal. And Nick Pope with a strong left hand to deny him. That's a good save by the Chelsea keeper, or the Newcastle keeper, from the Chelsea wing back, in a sense, in Mark Cucurella. Another switch ball out to Cucurella again. He's getting so much space in this side. Something that Newcastle really need to deal with, and fast, because he's causing problems. And Enzo Fernandez winning a throw-in down that side. James says Newcastle need to kill the game off. They do. It's finally poised at 1-0, despite being a man down. Chelsea still an opportunity to get forward and get in the good areas, and they might have a chance to level this game. And then they'll probably sit back and try and hold out for a draw, which wouldn't be the worst thing for Chelsea. But Barnes wins a free kick on this occasion. And look at that. They've got the penthouse suite, those Chelsea fans inside St James's Park. Of course, the away fans all get the highest part of the stadium in the furthest away point, in that stand behind the goal. It's almost like they're in a different postcode, they're that far away. Gotta say, St James's Park, you gotta say, it's one of the steepest climbs, I would say, in the Premier League for the height of their stands. They are absolutely monumentous. Ball over the top here for Newcastle. The man goes down on Harvey Barnes, but he's not going to get the foul off Mark Cucurella. Jacob Murphy's been shown a yellow here. Not too sure what for. I would guess for dissent, but not too sure. It's got a little bit out of order here at the moment, because Anthony Gordon's now going to be coming off, it looks like. So Jacob Murphy getting a yellow for Newcastle, and Anthony Gordon is going to be coming off then for Newcastle, and it's going to see, I think Emil Kraft is coming on in his place. It is Emil Kraft, so an extra defender, so they'll kind of swap into shape. The back four, when they've went to that back four, they've looked a lot more open, Newcastle, in the down that right hand side, that right back position which Jacob Murphy's currently playing, or was currently playing, hasn't really worked. So whether Kraft comes into the back and plays left back or centre back, Byrne at left back and Livramento at right back maybe, and they just kind of get a more rigid four that know that those positions, I think that might be the thinking very high. Because Jacob Murphy, no disrespect to him, he's done a great job at right wing back today, but it's not his natural position. He's not a natural defender. Yeah, Emil Kraft, I think, has just gone to right back here. He has. So, Livramento left back, Byrne and Scher at centre backs, and then Emil Kraft at right back for Newcastle. Tonali. Kraft. Sandro Tonali. 25 minutes to go. You think about Chelsea, though. Who would they bring on to try and give them that extra attacking threat? Of course, no real out-and-out centre-forward on the bench. I'd probably say Tariq George is their most threatening, and he can play wide and midfield, so he's not an out-and-out centre-forward. Neither is Jadon Sancho or Dewsbury Hall or anyone else on that bench. There's a few defensive players as well, so for Chelsea, it's probably your best options are on the field now to try and give you as much of a chance at getting a goal as possible. Got a little bit scrappy as that ball by Murphy was a little bit loose, and Chelsea get it back. Long ball out to the right hand side here towards Neto. Livramento in cover, and he gets the block there. Tino Livramento will be a throw into to Chelsea, sorry. Palmer. Trevor Chalobah coming further forward. Cucurella into Enzo Fernandez. Not breaking the lines too much, Chelsea. That's where their problems are. There's no focal point. They're all just hanging about. The ball into the box. Again, further away from Cole Palmer and Marc Cucurella. Again, what I'm saying is there's no focal point. So there's about a group of 4 players all dotted along the front line for Chelsea in the attacks. But none of them is the focal point. So there's really no way to pin the attacks off one player. Which is why you have a centre forward in a game of football now. Try and pin the attacks to hold up and hold the defence back. To give you that space, to give you that opportunity. But with no out-and-out centre forward for Chelsea, you're just having to play in between the lines, and there's just not much manoeuvring room again from Newcastle. That's why they've struggled to find any space. At least Jackson was making moves and making runs in behind and trying to create something. Again, a focal point. There just isn't one at the moment for Chelsea. That's nice from Enzo Fernandez to chip away from his man. And here's Cole Palmer driving towards the box. He gets it across, blocked by Cher. Back out to Palmer. Tries to chop his way through, and Fabian Cher in the way. Will be a Chelsea corner though. It's far from convincing from Newcastle. And far from comfortable anyway for the home side at this moment in time. James says Chelsea's big mistake was not signing John Duran for 40 million when they had the opportunity. Well, their big opportunity of signing a centre forward. That's what a lot of teams in the Premier League are struggling with. Not having that out-and-out goal scorer that can score 20, 25 goals a season. That's probably why Liverpool are the champions, as they do have that attacker that can score that amount of goals this season. City have that. Newcastle have that. And you can see that's not a coincidence that those sides are up where they are. Jesus, James. I mean, he was making runs in behind. He was also making runs into opposition players, but he was making runs in behind. I do agree with that on that point. It certainly wasn't accidental, which is what got him the red card. Accidental would have been a yellow card, but it was certainly not accidental. He knew where the player was, that's all I'll say. But so far, without Nicholas Jackson, defensively, Chelsea haven't been too open. Newcastle haven't had many chances to add a second goal. Certainly in this second half they haven't. Here's Murphy. All it needs is one. And here's a ball into the box. It's Guimaraes, who absolutely skies it well behind the goal. Nowhere near Robert Sanchez, but that was better from Newcastle. Nice ball wide to Murphy. He laid it off Guimaraes. He made the run into the box. No one at all watched him do it. He was completely blindsided of the Chelsea defenders. And he had the opportunity, he had the space, he had the chance, and he absolutely rocketed it well into the stands. Another good chance. A rare good chance for Newcastle in this second half. And their substitute, Emil Kraft, is down at the moment for Newcastle after a collision with Marc Cucurella. Might have landed a little bit awkwardly there. And it looks like Chelsea are going to be bringing on Jadon Sancho very shortly. So maybe some direct pace coming into the Chelsea side. As Zinum7 says, what do you guys think the score will be for El Clasico? I think Barca will win. I do see Barcelona winning that. I just don't see them now, without the Champions League to focus on. I don't see them giving up the league as well. As Tonali was fouled there by Romeo Lavia. Free kick to Newcastle. Yeah, I just don't see Chelsea or Barcelona dropping away. And their home form is not too bad this season. 13 wins in 17 home games. They have a good record against Real Madrid, of course, in previous El Clasico. Won the last 4 El Clasicos of Barca. The last 3 competitive ones. I mean, winning 4-0 in the Bernabeu in the reverse fixture is some statement. Absolutely destroyed Real Madrid that night. That's a darted ball out wide to Kraft here. Back to Murphy. Well, a goal for either side really changes the complexion of this one as we enter the final 18 minutes. A second goal for Newcastle would surely dead the tie and wrap up the 3 points for the Magpies, but an equaliser from 10-man Chelsea really gets the questions asked. Really gets the ears pricked up. Here's Guimaraes. Miley, out wide it goes. Barnes on the left side, gives it back to Lewis Miley, who drifts it back to Livramento. Now Guimaraes through the lines. Here's Harvey Barnes, a run at goal. Great challenge by Colwell. And then Miley had the last touch for a goal kick. That's fantastic defending from Levi Colwell. Harvey Barnes chops him, gets away from him, and then look at this challenge. Absolutely perfect from Levi Colwell. Incredibly well timed. A reminder for you what that would mean to the table. As it stands, Newcastle will be jumping up to 3rd in the table. They would go above Man City, who dropped points yesterday, so they would be on 66, Newcastle, City on 65, Chelsea on 63, and Villa on 63, with Forest on 61 and still to play. Arsenal on 67 above them all, and they have still to play as well later on. So it's all in the battle and all in the mix at the moment. Newcastle, the big benefactors, as it stands at the moment. So there's going to be more changes, and it's going to be Chelsea that are making a double. Malo Gusto and Jadon Sancho are going to be coming on. So Sancho going to be replacing Trevor Chalobah. So a defender for, or an attacker for a defender for Chelsea. And the second substitution is going to see Malo Gusto replace Romeo Lavia. So, right, trying to figure this one out. So they've taken a defender off but brought another defender on. And then gone a little bit more attacking by pushing a midfielder further forward, basically. So you would say... Ooh. Malo Gusto. Reece James might go to... They might go to a back 3. Reece James push further forward. Sancho going out to the left side, and then maybe pushing the midfielder back inside with Fernandes, who was pushing forward a bit more, maybe. Looks like a back 3 for Chelsea. One out and out centre back, and then the 2 wing backs dropping deep. But here comes the space for Newcastle. In behind, ball chipped across, too high for Isak, who was a whisker away from a second goal and a chance at a second. Again, good move down the left-hand side. Ball in behind. Is he onside, Murphy? I think he might have just been onside. And then Isak just couldn't reach it as the ball came across. That was a very tight one and a very close one. Sanchez will get this one away. And he will have this goal kick, yeah, for Chelsea. 15 minutes to go. Newcastle leading by a goal to nil. Sandro Tonali's goal inside 2 minutes has them ahead, and Nicholas Jackson was shown red after a VAR check for a serious foul play and a challenge on Sven Botman in the first half, which meant Chelsea were down to 10. But nothing really has happened since then in terms of goal-mouth action. Couple of half chances for both sides. Chelsea asking more questions of Newcastle in the second half, but not able to find any cutthroat opportunity with them as it stands at the moment. Newcastle maybe getting a lot more room here. Lovely ball down the left channel, a little bit too narrow away from Livramento by Murphy. And the ball reversed back into Sanchez from Chelsea, who clears it but doesn't get it very far away from his own box there, as Gusto has to help it along. And it's keenly brought down by Dan Burn. So Newcastle now pushing for that second. Chelsea probably trying to cling on, make sure they can't find a second. Newcastle, here's the space for Murphy again. It's Barnes trying to dribble inside. Not given much room there by Malo Gusto. Miley. Back to Livramento. Tonali through to Livramento, who flicks it forward. Here's Harvey Barnes. A heavy touch. Lets him down. If he'd had kept control of that one, Harvey Barnes, that was a glorious opportunity. Lovely little reverse ball by Tino Livramento. And now Chelsea are on the break down the right side here. Neto finding Fernandez as the referee plays advantage with Fernandez going down. Neto. Cucurella. Out to the left side for Sancho. Back to Mark Cucurella. Reece James central. Caicedo to Palmer. Cole Palmer. Out wide it goes to Jadon Sancho. Bodies into the box for Chelsea. Rolled forward to Neto, who gets the head off Fabian Schär. Will be a corner. Another chance for Chelsea here. Just after Newcastle had a big opportunity at one end. Chelsea trying to react at the other. We're on a knife edge here in the final 12 minutes of this one. A win for either side would really boost their hopes of Champions League football, but a defeat would be damaging. Sancho to deliver this corner as Bruno Guimaraes went down. When tussle with Enzo Fernandez, and you see them all the time. It's just ridiculous. It's not necessary, really. Not necessary at all. Oh, and they're trying to square up a little bit, those two. They're still going at it. They're still going at it, those two. Enzo Fernandez and Bruno Guimaraes. They're not giving up quickly. Fernandez, remember, is on a yellow card. Well, let's see what they can do from this corner, Chelsea. Just having a little chat between each other as it's cleared away at the near post. All that action for nothing. And now they're trying to break away. Newcastle. Murphy slightly caught. Not going to be a foul. Caicedo. Out wide it goes to the right side. Neto. Bodies in the box again for Chelsea, but two in the front of Neto. Tried to dribble away. Still got the ball. Forces it out wide now. Gusto. James. Back to Neto. Cross now to Cucurella. Very central. Goes out wide to Sancho. Trying to dribble towards the box. Jadon Sancho doing little drag backs. Can't really find a way through just yet. Eking towards the box as Palmer's efforts on the cutback is well over the bar. Just been poor from Chelsea. They've got into the right areas, but when they've got into the area, the 18-yard box, they've just forgot how to play football. James says Arsenal still chasing Man City even though they're below them in the table. You can see Arsenal finishing third. Well, yeah. Reminder for the table for you. If Newcastle win, or Chelsea win, it didn't really matter, but either of them winning meant that either one would go be 1 point behind Arsenal. As it stands, Newcastle are just a point behind Arsenal in the table. Now Arsenal still to play, of course, later this afternoon. And we'll see kind of what comes of that game with Liverpool later, but as it stands, Newcastle really trying to apply a little bit of pressure on Arsenal, and a number of teams could do that. If Arsenal drop points again, if they lose today at Liverpool, which you'd probably say wouldn't be too much of a surprise if that did happen, they would be in real worry going into the final 2 weeks, considering they play Newcastle next week, Arsenal, at the Emirates, of course. It's all getting a little bit tasty towards the end of the season. Here's Enzo Fernandez. That's it back to Sancho. Edge of the box. Jadon Sancho rolls it back for the ball by Reece James, who clears it away at the back post as Livramento. Chelsea having a little bit of a buoyancy moment here. Sancho. Enzo Fernandez. Cross to Caicedo. Gusto. Out wide to Reece James. Back inside to Malo Gusto. Trying to play their way through here, Chelsea. They're patient on the ball. And a lot more of the ball in the second half. Over 60% of the possession. Compared to just 43% in the first half. Have Chelsea. The ball from Neto into the path of Sancho. He's broke free. He's got it back to Enzo Fernandez, whose effort deflected just over the bar and behind for the corner. My goodness me. Newcastle are playing a dangerous game here. A very dangerous game. And Reece James has this corner for Chelsea. Chelsea's 8th corner of the match. And 8 minutes remain of this game. Reece James's delivery up and away by Dan Burn. Back out to the Chelsea club captain. Now Cole Palmer. Recycles it into the path of Caicedo. Has to go back to Gusto. Chelsea, everybody in the Newcastle half at the minute. Pushed forward. Trying to scrape an equaliser out of this. Neto. Down the left side. Up against Emil Kraft. And Neto's deep delivery. Flick back into the box. Cleared away by Guimaraes. And now the chance for maybe Newcastle to break with Barnes. He's got Isak with him. But he cannot get away through. Nicely won back by Chelsea there. And it's going to be a free kick for a foul on Levi Colwill. On that occasion by Harvey Barnes. Chelsea come again with this free kick. Sancho. Not deeper and not in the great position he wants to be in. Caicedo. Back to Colwill. Now Gusto. Back to Malo Gusto. He has to go all the way back to his goalkeeper, Robert Sanchez. He strides it forward. Brought down by Neto. A bit loose as he had to rescue it back to Cucurella. Under pressure. Are Chelsea, but they need to take a few more risks. No time for messing around. And Guimaraes has given away a cheap foul there. And he's going to get himself a yellow card for that challenge. It's a little bit cynical on Enzo Fernandez. Well, there you go. Two of them having a real go at each other. Enzo Fernandez fouled there by Bruno Guimaraes. She gets a yellow card. Here's Cole Palmer drifting away through a lot of bodies there. Burton gets his head to it and clears it away. But Reece James incessant on getting it back. Almost did though. As Tonali tried to spin and was brought down by Moises Caicedo. And that's a free kick to Newcastle. Well, I gotta say, they might be doing it the hard way, Newcastle. But like Villa last night, it doesn't matter what way you do it. It's just about getting the job done. That's what this point in the season is all about. Getting over the line and getting the desired result. And in such a high pressure game for Newcastle, this would be a massive 3 points if they got it over the line. That'd be massive. Well, they've already beaten their points tally of last season, Newcastle. They had 60 points last season. Started the day on 63. And in the season they qualified for the Champions League in 4th, they got 71 points. They would be just 5 points away from that if they get the win here this afternoon, with 6 games left, or 6 points left to play for. So they could theoretically beat that points tally of 71 points if they win their final 3 games of the season, Newcastle. Well, for Chelsea, the last time they qualified in a Champions League place was the 21-22 season. They got 74 points that season when finishing 3rd. You needed 71 points to get 4th that season. They're not going to get to that, 74 this season. Here comes Enzo Fernandez. Couldn't quite find Cucurella. It's a bit scrappy again as Newcastle scramble it away with Emil Kraft. Kept alive back there by Caicedo, and Sancho's ball was loose and it was sent packing all the way back to the Chelsea goalkeeper, and a long range clearance. Last season 68 points was enough to get Champions League, when Villa scripted for 4th there ahead of Tottenham on 66. That was enough. This season, at the moment, you would probably guess it would be about 67, maybe 68 points for a Champions League finish. Gusto into the box, the flick on for Reece James is over the bar. Oh my goodness. If you wanted a chance, there it was for Chelsea. Gift wrapped and handed to you, with a bow on top as well. That was such an opportunity, and it came bouncing off the head of Reece James and over the bar. If he got over it, that would be a massive goal if he'd have got that on target. But he just couldn't direct it, and it goes behind for a goal kick. Well, no matter what, the team that's narrowly losing always gets a chance before the final whistle. Might that be Chelsea's chance there, or is there more time? As we still about 90 seconds to go before we find out how much additional time we will play. I don't think it'll be as much as the first half, but there will certainly be a free kick here for Newcastle. And that was Bruno Guimaraes that was brought down. There's a little bit of a melee here, and the yellow cards are coming out. Got a little bit tetchy down there. There's going to be a yellow card coming out. The referee's already got his card in his hand, and he's calling 1 or 2 players over. He's calling Emil Kraft over, and he gets a yellow card for whatever his involvement in that moment was. So he gets himself booked. Emil Kraft. Newcastle get a free kick. Is there in no hurry to take, because the time is on their side. We will show you the table and what this result would mean for the top 5 race when we finish here, as we will wait and see what the 4th official puts on the board, Rob Jones, to see what additional time we're going to have. Free kick here for Newcastle. Dan Burn is absolutely screaming for it. Around the back, chipped over the top. Here is Burn. Gets it from Tonali. Reverses it into the path of Guimaraes. Guimaraes tries it. Whoa! What a goal from Bruno Guimaraes. Right from the top drawer for the Newcastle captain. The captain leads them to victory. And Newcastle United will get all 3 points. They might have done it the hard way, the nervy way against 10-man Chelsea. But that was waiting for a cracking goal like that from Bruno Guimaraes. He lifts the corner flag in celebration. He's the captain of this ship, and he is leading them to the shores of the Champions League. Bruno Guimaraes with a fantastic finish. This ball into Byrne. You think the chance is gone. He reverses it into Guimaraes, who has the space, and this is some effort. It takes a deflection, but it is some audacious attempt to get this effort off. And it takes a deflection, I'm sure. Yeah, it comes off Malo Gusto, and the keeper has no chance. And that's what it comes down to. Game done and dusted. And Newcastle United, look at the release inside this stadium that had been pent up with tension and nerves all the way through this second half. But right at the very death of it, it is Bruno Guimaraes that gets the second goal. And that has surely put 10-man Chelsea to the sword. Newcastle 2, Chelsea 0. 5 added minutes, by the way, as well, at the end of the night. There's another little melee here. So the game surely done and dusted. But it's got a little bit frayed. And the yellow card's out again from the referee. I've got to say, this is the... referee's called out 6 cards, 5 yellow, 1 red in this game. And there's a yellow card out again. He's going to point it to someone. And who that is Levi Colwell, I believe. I think he tried to square up to the referee there, Levi Colwell. Wouldn't recommend that. And he's got himself a yellow card. His frustration's boiling over with the Chelsea centre-back, who I have to say, Levi Colwell's done a very good job today. No discredit to him whatsoever. But on the day, it looks like it's going to be sunshine shining over Tyneside tonight. And today, obviously, not tonight. Sun doesn't shine at night time. Idiot. But maybe the Champions League music might just be drifting in the background for Newcastle United, who are going on to 66 points. From my calculations, I think they would need just 2 more points to secure Champions League. 1 more win should do it, I think. Whether that comes against Arsenal next week or on the final day against Everton here, I think Newcastle might just be on the precipice of a return to Champions League football next season. And the man who's carrying them to victory, along with the star striker Alexander Isak and Bruno Guimaraes, are going to be replaced by Callum Wilson and Sean Longstaff. Just to carry them over the line and get this game done and dusted and into the books and into the records for Newcastle United. Welcome in, Jordan. Thank you very much for the for joining us this afternoon. I don't know about that, James. I think you seemed a little bit nervous in the second half. You've gone a little bit quiet on us about that. Yeah, what a season for Newcastle it would be if they do get Champions League. Where did I predict them this season? I had them 7th, which I didn't think was too harsh. They finished 7th last season. I thought they would be in and around the same battle again. Looks like top 5 is destined. Here's Cole Palmer. Across and all the way through the 6-yard box. Out the other end to find Malo Gusto. Surely there's no time now. There's less than 30 seconds left of this game, you would suspect. A reminder for you, we've got another one for you later. The champions in action, Liverpool taking on Arsenal at 4:30. Arsenal might not be destined for second, so they have something to fight for at Anfield. But Liverpool at their home don't want to drop points and don't want to take the sting off it and the shine off what will be a cracking last few weeks for Liverpool. And they face Arsenal at 4:30. Join us for that one a little later on. Of course, we'll have all the results of the 2 o'clockers, or the 2:15 kickoffs. We'll have the result from that Forest game to see where everybody will shake out after that Forest game, because remember, Chelsea would be outside the top 5 if Nottingham Forest win against Leicester later on. Forest would go above Chelsea, they would go up to 5th and would be only a point behind City, 2 points behind Chelsea, and behind Newcastle, and 3 points behind second place Arsenal. So Forest are right back in the mix if they win later. For Chelsea, it's going to be a damaging weekend, it seems. They've got 2 games to go. Man United at home on Friday night, and a trip to Nottingham Forest on the final day is what Chelsea have on the horizon to try and get Champions League football. They'll probably need to win both of those games at this stage now to get there. As I say, 68 points is what I'm predicting to be what you need for top 5, and Chelsea can only get either 67 or 69. So I think they need to win their last 2 games, Chelsea, if they're going to get Champions League. There's the final whistle, and what it means for over 50,000 inside St James's Park is that Newcastle are surely on their way to grabbing a European spot in the top 5, grabbing a Champions League place. They move up to 3rd, above Manchester City, with this cracking result. We always knew today would be a defining day in the top 5 race, and Chelsea will have a lot of work to do in the final 2 weeks of the season if they are to get into the top 5. They're still in the top 5 as it stands, but at the mercy of the result at the City ground a little later on. For Newcastle, they're looking up the table. They're only 1 point off Arsenal now, heading into the final 2 weeks, and they play Arsenal next weekend. That's set to be a cracker next Sunday. Will join us for that as well. But for today, on part 1 of our Sunday action doubleheader here at LFS, it is finished. Newcastle United 2, 10-man Chelsea 0. And there you go. That's it in the books for Newcastle. It's a victory for the Magpies. Their 20th win of the season. Only Liverpool have won more games than them this season, so they certainly are racking up the victories. And Newcastle United are well on their way as it stands to claiming Champions League football again. And that man, Bruno Guimaraes, getting the second goal that really sealed the deal in the final few minutes. Right, that is it from us. We will show you the table. We'll show you what that means. Now, let's show you the results, though. So far this weekend, Everton 3-1 winners away at Fulham. Brentford 1-0 away at Ipswich. A 0-0 draw between already relegated Southampton and Manchester City makes it tasty for the top 5. Brighton 2-0 winners away at Wolves means their top 8 position is theirs at the moment. Bournemouth dropping points and losing at home to Aston Villa means it's difficult for them for the top 8, but still alive. And Villa right back in the mix for top 5. And Newcastle winning their first game on Sunday against Chelsea in the lunchtime kickoff, winning by 2-0. Later on, Man United, West Ham, Forest, Leicester and Tottenham Crystal Palace are the 3 2:15 kickoffs. We'll have the results of those on our later game as we watch Liverpool take on Arsenal at the home of the champions, Anfield, a little later on. Then tomorrow and Tuesday, we have the semi-final second legs of the Championship playoffs for you tomorrow and Tuesday as well. So do look forward to that. With Sheffield United and Sunderland both having leads to take into their home legs in the respective next 2 nights. That's it from us, though, here this afternoon. Newcastle up to 3rd, right back in the battle. Chelsea are hanging on for results elsewhere. They will be outside the top 5 if Nottingham Forest win. It is on the precipice of Champions League nights returning to St James's Park. Congratulations to Newcastle. They're not there yet, but they've won today, and they've given themselves a big leap towards Champions League returning. Chelsea, are they stumbling at the wrong time? We'll see. Do join us a little later on for that game at Anfield at 4:30. We'll be live 10 minutes before kickoff. Join us then. For now, thanks for your company, and we'll see you a little later on.